while everyone is also preparing for war. That is the way we pursue peace. Yeah? So that's why I said national insecurity. It refers to the permanent sense of insecurity of nation states, which at its crudest is about the uncertainties with respect to regime survival. Our name has been used or abused when the ruling classes pursue their interests. Those who are in charge of government pursue their own interests, class interests, individual interests, leaders' interests, cliques' interests. They say it's about national security. You see, that is the discourse of national security, which I call national insecurity. The second insecurity is global insecurity, which I define as the overall sense of insecurities and vulnerabilities of the world's economic and political order, which in turn rest on the security of the nation-state system, where nation-states make up the world's political economy. Nation-states are building blocks of this international order. We are not free-floating rafts in the sea of the international events. And third and finally, human insecurity. When I say human security, what I mean is the absence, the emphatic absence of human security. Yeah? When you don't feel safe to walk down the streets in certain areas of KL or in Bangkok, or like you don't feel safe to go to your farms because the farm has been taken over by mining interests. That's what I mean by the absence of human security. Your livelihood is taken away, or your livelihood is threatened, or your pocket is no longer safe. Yeah? Absence of human security. So in a nutshell, the three insecurities perspective argues that since the end of the Cold War, global capitalism has brought communities, the environment, and national political economies into a single whole. In the process, which many of us refer to as, in quotes, globalization. Here, the three discourses of insecurity compete for primacy in policy making and policy practices. While talking about the rule-based, predictable international order, every nation state is preparing for eventualities such as war and conflict over resources and others. Driven by a profound sense of insecurity, domestically and internationally, even the United States is found spying on allies, citizens, rivals alike, as shown by the latest PRISM scandal of the National Security Agency. While all three are not necessarily mutually exclusive, the issue of vulnerabilities, such as refugees, internally displaced persons, and the unemployed, is typically placed on the policy back burners of the powerful players and institutions. The security and well-being of persons and communities are trampled upon, literally and figuratively, especially when the other two insecurity regimes, national insecurity and global insecurity, team up to form an exclusive symbiosis out of strategic calculations and political expediency. The prime example that is still unfolding before our eyes is the issue of the Rohingya genocide. Everybody knows there are acts of genocide that have been committed against the Rohingyas of Burma since 1978. But no one would call it a genocide because doing so will trigger certain, or will have to trigger certain international responses. And the global security regimes, or global insecurity regimes, and national insecurity regimes, like governments and global institutions, do not find it in their interest to address the issue of genocide of the Rohingya. So therefore, they call it, communal violence, Buddhist versus Muslim. You see, That is why we find or we read stories about how the policies and practices of nation states, corporations, multilateral agencies, and international financial institutions collectively contribute to the detriment of marginal communities and faceless human persons, their natural habitats, and their access to livelihoods, safety, freedoms of movement, association, and so on. Finally, as someone who was raised in a Buddhist family, I must say this. I think Buddhism is primarily concerned about the salvation of self, the individual. We do not have a concept of soul, so we're not saving the soul, but we are interested or concerned about the individual liberation, cessation of life, the end of life, the nirvana. But I think in the scenario that I laid out here, where structural conditions make it almost nearly impossible to build peace, to sustain peace, Buddhist ethos and Buddhist philosophy is finding itself inadequate. And so I think we have to complement the need for individual salvation, the need to improve ourselves, the need to become change, we want the world to be. We also need to be informed by the structural understanding of the conditions in which we are asked to address the question, is peace possible? Yes, it is possible to pursue peace, but only with the understanding of the structural conditions that will make it so difficult for us to pursue peace, and peace as if people matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maung Zarni. We'd like to invite Harsha to present an appreciation to Maung Zarni. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please give Maung Zarni a round of applause again. Thank you so much. Okay, we will now have a 5-minute quick break. Can go to the toilet if you want to, and then we will then return for a panel session. So please.
Panel session.